Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would be grateful if you take a few moments to listen to the following short safety announcement. On hearing the fire alarm, we would ask everyone to evacuate the building immediately. Please leave in a calm and orderly manner using the exits which are located at the front and the rear of the hall. Then make your way to the assembly point at the front of the physics building located at the car park side of the hall opposite the main building. We would ask you to remain there until instructed otherwise. Please do not attempt to re-enter the building, even if the alarms have been silenced, as this does not always mean the emergency is over. Today, more than ever, I'd like to thank everybody for wearing a face mask this afternoon. It is important to remind everyone that masks should be worn whilst in the hall unless you're crossing the stage. I would also like to take this opportunity to ask you to silence all mobile phones now for the duration of the ceremony. Thank you for your cooperation, and we trust you enjoy your visit to Queen's University. A short university video will now be played.
I've always had an interest in going on to have a career in research, so I knew that when I was picking the university for my postgraduate studies, I needed to pick a university that was known on the international stage.
My skills anywhere I find myself. What matters is to apply the skills to make wherever I find myself a better place.
It seems to be a great way to separate yourself from the rest of the pack. Choose the employer that you're engaged and you're really interested in this area.
Since becoming a postgraduate student, I have access to the graduate school. It's a gorgeous building. It's really easy to work your life around it. Like, it doesn't take over your life, it improves it.
Please rise to receive the academic procession.
Good afternoon and a warm welcome on this special occasion to graduates, parents, families and friends from Queen's Management School and the William J. Clinton Leadership Institute. I declare open this congregation for the celebration of degrees, diplomas and certificates, and please be seated. Members of Senate, fellow members of staff, ladies, gentlemen, guests and friends, I'm really delighted to have this opportunity of saying a few words to you this afternoon. And to our graduates, welcome back. For the more observant of you, you may have noticed that I am not Nola Hewitt-Dundas, who's my colleague who should be taking this ceremony. She had a slight accident over the weekend, and I've decided to, been asked to fill in for her. And I feel a little bit like she's taken a huge risk asking an engineer to look after the ceremony today, but I'll do my best. I used to say that my first degree is in history, so maybe that means my heart is in the right place, even if my head is more in computing science and software. Today you'll be able to mingle with your fellow former students, with your family and friends, and this is an opportunity to say well done to you all. And let me offer my personal congratulations to you. Sometimes in these graduation ceremonies, I confess to the biggest fear I had when I was sitting there, and that was that at some point the door would open and somebody would rush in and say, "We've just checked the spreadsheets, there's been a terrible mistake and you haven't graduated," okay? But you're all in the fortunate position to have your certificates and so forth now already, so you can relax. I guess one of the things that's obvious is that when you started your degree, nobody had any idea that things would turn out the way that they have done. Sometimes I feel as though that's slightly my fault because I arrived in Belfast almost the same day as COVID. But Stuart and the medical faculty told me that case 0 had to be here just a little bit before me. In any case, I know that you've had to show extreme resilience and cope with many adversities that many of the generations of graduates that sat there before have never even thought about. And I know also that you've had to cope with sometimes contradictory information, inconsistency and so forth. And for that I have to apologize to you on a personal level because you know, you have to understand that we also were facing often information that was incomplete and didn't tell us what it was or wasn't safe to do. But on the other hand, you've achieved huge things to be here, and that resilience that you had to display will stand you in good stead in your future career. I'm totally confident of that. I'm also aware that nobody sitting there achieved what you've achieved on their own, and that you've had help from fellow students, from friends, and from family, and also from staff. And so I'd like to take an opportunity just now to give a round of applause to all the people that helped you to achieve this great thing today. Thank you. So every graduation address has to have some kind of moral associated with it. And I come from a small barren island off the north of Scotland called Shetland that apocryphally doesn't have any trees, but it does have one or two, but they're very small. And that kind of gives me a slightly negative perspective on life. So the thing I want to say to you from the management and leadership perspective is that I've always learned more from failure than I have from success. And I think that that's really what resilience teaches you, which is that, you know, that today is fantastic and a moment for celebration, but at some point you'll hit hard times. And the thing then is to rebound, as you have done from the COVID, but also to draw lessons from that experience. So there's an article on the BBC that says rocket scientists aren't that clever. It's on there this morning, which is a bit of a blow for me, because that's what I do, right? So a lot of the time in my early career, I worked with NASA and the European Space Agency, and part of that was on understanding managerial failure. So I'll tell you, one of the most useless pieces of research that I ever worked on, right, was to do with the management of space missions. So if you can imagine, something has gone wrong, right? You have to analyze a management failure. And the way this thing worked, it was called tier analysis, right? So what you did was you took all the things that went wrong, and you blamed them on the lowest person in your organization. So far, so good, right? Depending on where you are in the organization, right? But the way this method went was, you then had to write down the reason why you couldn't blame the boss, right? So as we tried to apply this, it went sort of, okay, blame the boss, blame the boss, blame the boss, blame the boss, and then they fired you. So it's kind of like a self-destruct mechanism. Another time I was looking at a financial failure, and the reason that I want to tell you about this is that sometimes you learn things from failure, and sometimes there are just things that are randomly funny, okay? So I was asked to look at a fraud, right? And I pitch up at this very august financial institution, and they show me the computer. I'm a software guy, right? And so I look at the computer, and on the desktop is a folder called Forged Documents. This is after a couple of million pounds have gone missing, right? And I said, did anybody think to look in that? And the manager goes, well, we were all curious. And another thing that happened as well was that the Treasury and Audit Department of the financial institution suspected that something was wrong. So they went to the person that was responsible for the fraud, and they said, do you know, you could be committing a fraud doing this? And the guy kind of, I guess, smiled and said, really? So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that two things. One is that although we've got to celebrate success, just remember the hard times and how you overcame them, because those are the things that will help you be strong in the future against similar adversity. And also try, when things go wrong, to have a sense of humor and at least see the funny side of things every so often. Okay. So will all graduates please rise? In the name and by the authority of the university, I confer on you and those whose names appear on the graduation list the degrees, diplomas, and certificates to which you're entitled, and for which you who are present will be individually presented by your head of school. Please be seated.
Pro-Vice-Chancellor, I present to you graduates for the degree of Master of Science in Global Leadership and Management in Queen's Management School. Abdullah Nasir Al-Hajri. Saif Omar Al-Sharam. Abdullah Rahman Al-Thani. And for the degree of Master of Science in Human Resource Management, Thomas Grimley. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Accounting, Evin Mara Chambers. Yan Hoi Huang. Megan Mary Elizabeth Law. Kira McCammon. Andrew Raymond John Murphy. Wen Jin Yu. Peter Bradley. Connor Aaron Carew. David Christopher James Cunningham. Connor James Devlin. Ronan Fitzpatrick. Andrew Michael Fox. Megan Julianne Goodall. Ryan Graham McCurry. Ru Min He. Oliver Patrick Hughes. Jonathan Irwin Hunter. Yi Shi Li. Zhe Hui Lian. Kai Shen Lim. Zhe Yu Liu. Cahill James McAvoy. Jordan Ryan McKinney. Michael Gerald Sullivan. Jonathan Robert Wade. Zha Hui Yang. Yan Yan Zhang. Ru Fan Jin. Zhu Yue Wang. Hai Wei Yang. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Actuarial Science and Risk Management, Jessica Mary Byrne. Sean Patrick Donnelly. Ronan Gallagher Lavery. Owen Mathewson. Caelan Jared McCarran. Connor Jared McCluskey. Maeve Anna McCullough. Mark McGarry. Connor McGee. Aaron McLean. Alexander James Robert Mills. Peter Robert Wallace Morrison. Pádraig Kiernan Mullen. Sean Patrick O'Kane. Victoria Stewart. Mark Christopher Sumide. Liam Dixon. Larry Joseph Kelt. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Business Economics, Lucy Elizabeth Cassidy. Connor Michael McGuinness. Patrick Bartholomew St. John Morgan Jones. Morna Claire Murnahan. Niamh Bridget Rafferty Hughes. Abusar Mohammed Sheikh. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Business Management, Ethan Harold Hall. Rachel Margaret Kearns. Alana Keary. Eva Margaret Kirkland. Andrew Graham O'Hare. Gavin Michael Sterling. Eleanor Hope Lewisham Trott. Nural Adriana and Binte Abdul Rahman. Aaron Alexandra Allen. Simon Earl John Andrews. Sophie Antonia Gafola. Evan John Crummy. Graham Curry. Lewis Martin Dobbin. Chloe Ellen Duncan. Mian Huai Fung. Abe May Ferguson. Seamus Jared Fitzpatrick. James Arthur Fleming. Kiva Bernadette Gallagher. Hoi Chin Gao. Jordan Robert Holmes. Matthew David Knox. Brendan McSorley. Mary Claire McBride. Sarah Megan McCabe. Owen Francis McCann. James McLean. Peter Francis McCreish. Maeve Margaret McKendry. Hannah Olivia Grace Morrison. Claire Marjorie Murphy. Ryan O'Neill. Jordan William Rawling. Shannon Jade Rowan. Connor Turley. Gregory Harper Turnbull. Ryan Wade. Ronan Jared White. Chong Chen. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Economics, Edward Jonathan Allenby. Matthew David Curry. Thomas Joseph Hall. Abby Jane Lucas. Aidan Charles Thomas Toole. Patrick Thomas Tunstall. Jake Connor Atherton. Erica Ann Finn Benjamin. Connor Daniel Flynn. Brendan Michael Gribben. Joseph William Hanrahan. Mark William McLenaghan. Alex Mary Claire McGregor. Megan Shaw O'Doherty. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Finance, Daniel Fionn Atkinson Callback. Yushin Yi Liu. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Finance with a year in Industry, Sarah Boho. Joshua Charles Briers. Rokade Catherine Carson Farley. Xin Ru Chen. Mark Thomas Condren. Kaelin Corey. Anya Cullen. Jack Edward Devlin. Tyler Gartland. Connell George Gill. Peter James Hanna. Maeve Bernadette Higgins. Lauren Ashley Hollywood. Hannah Jane McGuire. Abby Kin McInerney. Lauren Jade McHugh. Claudia Deborah McMaster. Kieran Mark McNally. Barry James McPhillips. Patrick Joseph Morgan. James Colum O'Doherty. Lin Chuen Bian. Karen Emma Butler. Jack Thomas James Canning. Rinja Chin. Mark Corey. Bei Bei Fan. Brian James Green. Aaron John Hagan. Catherine Mary Lynch. Tierna Neve Maguire. Cahir Thomas Moss. Roland Francis Mulholland. Neil Alexander John Salters. Owen Shields. Maeve Karen Lappin. Patrick Quinn. Gareth Adrian Walsh. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Joint Honours, Economics and Accounting, John McMorrow. Dara Breslin Dean. Anthony Lee Davidson. Emer Margaret Devlin. Kathleen Ann Friel. Mary Claire Holland. Muhammad Hamza Khan. Rona O'Doherty. Harish Pila. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Major Minor Honours, Accounting with French, Nicola Ann Brown. Aisling Lavery. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Major Minor Honours, Accounting with Hispanic Studies, Sergio Sebastian Olivia. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Major Minor Honours, Economics with Finance, Lauren Nicole Garrett. Connor Robert McCauley. Amy Jordan McErlane. Podrick Meehan. Brian Anthony O'Kane. Goda Polowski. Kayla Troy. Stuart John Burr. Stephen Connor Courtney. Matthew Harry Dempsey. Connor Doran. Jeremy Joseph Drummond. Stephanie Anya Lavelle. Jordan Philip Albury Louis. Charlie McCartan. Caroline Ann McCormick. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Major Minor Honours Economics with French, Niall McManus. Emma Catherine Graham. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Major Minor Honours International Business with German, Niall Hannigan. Rohan Marie Rachel Crosscurie. And for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Major Minor Honours International Business with Spanish, Caitlin Molly Barber. Hannah Campbell Carson. Lauren Eleanor Hayes. Taylor William Huston.
For Vice-Chancellor, I present to you graduates of the degree Masters in Business and Management for the Clinton Leadership Institute. Stephen Bradley. Kieran Joseph Ferrin. Colin Maher. Paul McLaughlin.
I've got a few closing remarks. The first thing is to explain to you a little bit about the masks and the handshakes. It's not purely because of the health regulations. It's also because we've got at least 10 more graduations to go. And if you think there were 200 graduates and their families here today, that's an awful lot of people that could be disappointed if we hit any problem. So I'd like to apologise that we can't shake hands and we up here had to wear masks. But if all of this is over, please come and visit and I will shake your hand, okay? So that's the first thing. And the second thing is to just ask for you all to say thank you to the people that helped organise this. There's an awful lot of people, checking that the procedures are followed and putting an awful lot of work into making sure that we can do this, because I think we're almost at the tipping point. If this was a week later, it would be really hard to be able to do this and remain within the rules. So if you'd like to just join with me and say thank you to the organisers. So I hope you've enjoyed the celebration together. As a university, Queen's is extremely proud of every one of its graduates, and you remain part of a community and part of a family. I hope that you'll stay in touch, and I meant what I said about the handshake. I really hope that you find the things that you've gained in your time here to be useful in your future careers, and that they bring you every possible success. If there was anything that you found totally useless, then I assume that my colleagues here would like to hear from you at some point, okay? So I declare closed this congregation for the celebration of degrees, diplomas and certificates, and invite our graduates to join the academic progression as it leaves the hall. And could I ask the parents and friends just to wait until the procession has left? And thank you once again. Thank you.
Queen's Alumni Office was established to ensure that the relationship between graduates and alma mater becomes lifelong. Many people will have forged lasting personal and professional friendships while at Queen's, and the ongoing Alumni Outreach Programme aims to keep Queen's men and Queen's women in touch with the university and, of course, with each other. In time, alumni will make return visits to Queen's for reunions, public lectures, social and academic events, and perhaps further study. It's particularly important to stay in contact if careers are pursued overseas, and for this reason Queen's now has a number of graduate organisations based both here in Northern Ireland and throughout the world in Canada, America, the Far East, Africa and Northern Europe. So, graduation should not mark the end of your association with Queen's. Through the Alumni Office, those friends, contacts and memories can last a lifetime.